Good. All right, when you're ready.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Today, in this room, we are going to have a 7-minute relationship. And if it goes well, it might even last 10 minutes. Which is actually more to say, more opportunity than most companies have with a 30-second commercial to build a relationship with someone, or say a full-page ad or spread in a magazine. So while we go on this pseudo date, I'll be giving you a few examples of how this works out. And when we go on this date, we might go out to dinner. We might eat some nouns and verbs, maybe some paradoxical phrasing for dessert. And afterwards, we might go out to dinner. I'd go out to a movie. And hopefully some of my examples might be illustrated vividly enough to carry in your mind as you go to sleep tonight. They'll be flickering through your mind, which is exactly what a company wants to do when they advertise their products. They want you to go to sleep thinking about their product. And this story comes to sort of a sad ending because we're destined to break up. At the end of a speech, I'll move on and have a whole other audience, and you guys will move on and meet another speaker. And the only thing that will preserve and keep alive the connection we've made today will be how much we stand out to each other. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. It's how to stand out and differentiate yourself in a competitive market. I think this relates to MBAs very well because there are many other MBAs that we're competing against every day in career fairs when we turn in our resume. And it's crucial that we accentuate our strengths in a way that make us look unique to our employers. And so I thought it was very relevant information. And also, I carry some expertise in this because I worked in graphic design and brand management for the last 3 years, working with companies like Home Depot and Fifth Third Bank, Indian Motorcycle, and also working in the film and television industry as well for around 6 years. And there's 3 points I would like to make as we get into this. And the first is pretty simple. It's the differentiation is not about being different. It's about being yourself, your true self. And secondly, differentiation should not be executed in an aggressive manner. It should be non-aggressive. You're presenting someone the benefits that you can give to them. You're presenting to them what appeals to them, not necessarily pushing a product on them, which will only really bolster their own resistance. And third, you have differentiation must manage potential objections or fears people have about things that are new, fresh, and different. So my first point, I think, is best illustrated by talking about a commercial I think everyone's seen. Has everyone in the room seen the Apple advertisements? The commercials are very popular. Mm-hmm. Two characters sitting against a white backdrop, looks like purgatory, like they're saying in purgatory. And you have the two characters symbolize their own companies. You have the one 25-ish hip Macintosh character with the acid wash jeans and a t-shirt, and then you have the rather rotund, awkward, old-fashioned looking Microsoft character. And these two characters very well represent what the companies in a way stand out in our minds. So I'd like to sort of have an exercise, if you guys don't mind. This is going to sound a little weird, but do you guys mind closing your eyes for maybe like 10 or 20 seconds or something? Do you mind? All right, what I'd like you to do is imagine your own brand name and what you've been building up with your 30-second pitch, your 1-minute story, the questions in your interview, questions, everything you built up to this point. Imagine your brand name and then imagine what that looks like as a person, what they wear, what color their hair is, how they walk, what would they do on a Sunday afternoon when there's nothing to do. I want you to create that image of a person in your mind that represents your brand name. And then I want you to open your eyes and see that person walk on to that stage with the Microsoft and the Macintosh characters and let them interact. And what this exercise is illustrating is simply that we all have a unique individual to present to our employees, and we must understand that alone lets us stand out. You should not be trying to differentiate yourself by being too different. You should only allow the unique characteristics you have come to the surface for another individual to see. And most of all, I think this relates every time you present your resume to someone, every time you shake a hand or network. You have to ask yourself, on this resume, am I showing my true self, or am I showing a person that I think they want to see? And so anyways, moving on, the next point I wanted to make was differentiation should be executed in a non-aggressive manner. This is very important because you cannot force something different on someone, you can only present it to them and allow them to make their own decisions. And the more you try to force it on someone, the more likely it is that you'll only bolster their own resistance to your cause. So it's important to be aware of these sort of factors when you're trying to differentiate yourself. Now, to give you an example, in my own life, I took on sort of a differentiation in my business cards. I thought of an idea of making my business cards metal instead of paper because I did not want to present myself as a paper person who's flimsy or can be thrown away. And so, at first though, when I went about this, it elicited some resistance from people because they thought of it as elitist or something, that I wasn't extending a sincere bridge to make a connection with them, but I was trying to make a point or impress them. And so I had to go back and sort of reorganize some of my business cards to present a very humble side while it stood out, but also let them know that I was very sincere in the relationship I wanted to build with them. And I have a few examples if you guys want to see them. Is this all right? I didn't ask beforehand, but I thought I'd show some just that are a little bit more just easier for people to take. And the idea comes about, I went about it in a very stark business-like way at first, and that's when I met the resistance, and I realized what I was doing was I was trying to force an idea on someone with a metal business card instead of presenting something that might appeal to them and show them creativity. And I'll go ahead and move on to the third point. And the first 2 points work very well together. The differentiation should reflect your true self, and the differentiation should be non-aggressive. Those work very well. And the third one's also crucial because it's probably the first obstacle each of you will run into when you start to differentiate yourself. And that is that you'll be worried about the natural human instinct to have fears or apprehension towards something new or fresh. So I thought it was very important to go ahead and confront this issue so that people can get a grasp about what works for them. Now, I think the fear is based in a simple human reaction in that there's a risk in presenting something new because there's a chance that the crowd or group you're presenting to could reject that idea. And so it's safer to stay within a few bounds. And I think that to illustrate this point, I worked with a company called Indian Motorcycles. Now, some of you might have heard of this company, and some of you might not have heard of this company. They've been around for over 100 years. They're actually the original American motorcycle. But because of financial issues, they've sort of had a roller coaster ride while Harley Davidson has come ahead as sort of more of an American icon for motorcycles. So now as they try to rejuvenate their image, I work with them in revitalizing that brand name and creating some new ideas for them. And what we did to try to manage the potential fears they might run into with presenting something new and fresh to a market was to root the image, the brand campaign we had in the fact that they were the original American motorcycle. They've been around for over 100 years. Root them deeply in a sense of history, that they've been around longer than Harley, while still presenting a very fresh and new image that could be appealing to people who might not necessarily cater to the Harley Davidson image. And it worked out very successfully. They're expanding, they're franchising. I worked on site at a couple different locations where they brought some buildings up, and it was very exciting. And it really helped, I think, to acknowledge people's comfort zones while still presenting them something exciting. And so, just to conclude and wrap things up, as this date comes to an end, feels like I'm walking you to the door. It's sort of a weird metaphor. There's a lot of guys in the room. Don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Just kidding here a little bit. But as I come to the door, if I was to leave you with one message, I would just say, in competing in new markets, in competitive markets, dare to be different. Dare to differentiate yourself from the crowd. And to do that, some of the 3 key concepts to take advantage of is that differentiation is not about being different. It's about presenting your true self. And secondly, differentiation should be always executed non-aggressively. Third, differentiation must manage potential objections or fears that the person you're presenting to might have. Thank you guys. It was a wonderful day. I'm sorry it has to end.
Thank you.